Well, joining us now is agriculture expert Ekeanyanwu, Nnabue, to make a clear situation in the country. Good to see you and thanks for your time. I'm sure you saw what's happened in Kano and other parts of the country. And before Kano, it's a problem that a lot of people, reporters have gone around the markets, and things are actually expensive. We are in dire straits. Now, paint for us first, it's a better place to start, the situation that Nigeria is experiencing at the moment.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me. I watched today the protests in Minna specific, and you could see that the people are beginning to get agitated about the level of poverty and the cost of food. And I keep saying, and we need to revisit, is it that food is too expensive, or is it that the people don't have money in their pockets to buy food? Those are the questions that we need to ask ourselves. And I believe very strongly that, yes, food is expensive in Nigeria now, based if you compare it to what it used to be. But you see that the main issue is that the people are beginning to walk into deeper poverty so that they cannot afford to buy the food as expensive as it has become. Which drives us back to the same thing. The issue of joblessness. The fact that we have the people who are no longer working. And if you're not working, I keep saying that poverty is not the lack of money. Poverty is the lack of the opportunity to make money. And if you see, because the poverty is beginning to get deeper and deeper, the jobs are running away. We are not increasing production. We are not producing what we are consuming. And remember that we keep saying that if we do not industrialize, you see, natural resources is actually a resource, but it's not the main resource. It is in the value chain, in the value addition chain to the natural resources that you actually get the benefit. That's the benefit that the people get to derive. Because you see, you can have cassava in a community, but if you keep shifting the cassava out of the community to be processed in another community, what you leave behind is joblessness. Yeah. And what that translates to is poverty, lack of money. And when there is lack of money, you will not be able, even if there is rice in your community, you will not be able to afford to buy the rice. So we need to go back to revisit the processes that we have been engaging in. The government has said they are going to open up 500,000 new farmlands. That is a very strategic move, but it has to be implemented well. We have to do it in such a way that we create the jobs at the rural communities. We need to make sure that if they're saying they're going to open up 500 new hectares farmland, why don't we do it per local government? From the calculation, if we divide 500,000 new farmlands into the local government, 774 local government, you have about 600 and almost 648 hectares to each local government. Yes, sir.
So these challenges seem to be symptoms of deeper ailments, especially when you talk about economic policies and strategies to ensure that some of these points you've raised are actually addressed. Let's talk about forex, for example. If you're not productive, if there's no value addition to the raw materials or that we're exporting, we wouldn't get dollars, we wouldn't get foreign exchange.
Exactly.
Right? So whatever policies or moves or strategies that the Central Bank of Nigeria that's supposed to address, monetary policies and all of that, they may just fall flat.
Yes.
Okay, so now when you hear, let's bring it home, especially considering the interview that we just had with the Central Bank of Nigeria governor. What do you make of the uncovering of $2.4 billion false forex claim? Based on what we heard, from the central bank governor. I mean, that non-existent entities, have been, getting forex.
It's the same thing that happens in all interventions that the government does.
Right.
Now we have a situation where people who don't exist have access to the funds that are supposed to power the economy. When that happens, you actually erode the foundation of the progress that you tend to have. Now, if you see $2.something billion, we are talking about $2.something billion that cannot be accounted for. Now, do you know, if you consider the fact that from my own personal researches and the things that we are involved in agriculture, you see that some of the processing plants that we need to power the economy, to power production, because if we do not produce, we will not be able to earn. And if we do not earn very efficiently by ensuring that the people themselves, the people, The factor is the people.
Right.
If the individual peoples of Nigeria are not earning, Nigeria is not earning. So if we go back, you see that some of the facilities, some of the agricultural implements, some of the technologies that are needed for us to power the people, to power the economy, are so cheap. Now, $2.something billion invested efficiently and effectively in any sector of our economy will have greater impact than the amount itself as an entity, because the people will turn that amount of money over. So we have a situation where even in all the interventions that the government is doing, I want to talk about agriculture specifically, because agriculture has the power. You see, we invest so much money into oil and into mineral resources, and we do not invest equivalent, even a little of it, into agriculture. If we invested 10% of what we use for exploration of oil into the exploration of agriculture, Nigeria will earn more money, more dollars from agriculture than we are earning from money, from oil. And then let me tell you something. We will have a greater impact in the sense that there are more persons who will be absorbed into the agricultural space, job creation, giving them the opportunity to earn more money. So as they're earning more money, the government can have taxes.
Right. Let me comment here, because I'm seeing the point now, and some of the concerns will be the interventions by government over the years, even the Buhari administration and the CBN, we saw what they did. So, and just again, looking at the war between Russia and Ukraine, to the extent that the cutoff of grain affected even the continent. Now, how is it that these interventions that we've seen over the years haven't actually put us on a very comfortable situation whereby we can feed our nation and perhaps also the continent?
Because the money is going to the wrong people. There is a cartel, there is a group of persons that are in between the government interventions and the actual plan. And that is where the problem is. There has to be a disconnect. There has to be a way by which the interventions gets to the people. And that brings us to the private sector participation.
Yeah.
Now, I can say this to you, that for some of us that have made up our mind about creating jobs for our people, we are no longer waiting for the government. What we are doing now is to mobilize the grassroots to get prepared for the industrial revolution that must happen. Now, if some of those funds have been able to get to some of this type of organizations that are doing the real thing, because the organizations are going to the rural communities to go and to interact with the people and plan with them and provide them with access, provide access to them for them with concerning the agricultural implements. Now, if those type of organizations have access to these funds,
how can we cut off those bad guys? Please.
The government has to. President Nnabue is president of Nigeria. He has power, he has authority, he has capacity. Now, what needs to happen is that he has to make up his mind that he has to find the right people, the right people that are going to do the right things, that are already doing. There are people who are already doing. And we have to throw away the tribal sentiment and throw away the religious issues. It's not taking Nigeria anywhere. Nigeria is burning. The people are getting angry. The people are agitating. We need to channel that agitation. We need to make sure that we organize the grassroots people. We have to go back to the rural communities. I believe that we should be running a national program that goes back to the local governments, where we can get to the youth. If we were able to allocate agricultural farms to 500 youth from each local government in Nigeria, at the end of the day, what is going to happen? We are going to generate almost 400,000 jobs. But that is not where the issue is. The rippling effects of those 400,000 jobs that are created within the communities and in the families, that's where the benefits are. The benefits are the fact that one person begins to earn, he is able to take 2 or 3 persons along with him. Poverty is reduced. Food, they can afford to buy food. But now we have a situation where the jobs are running every day. If we do not create jobs, one day there's not going to be a nation that is called Nigeria.
And we hope that day never comes. If you were to advise the Central Bank of Nigeria, considering that, before now, they've always been involved in agriculture, coming up with programs like anchor borrowers and what have you, what would you say are the immediate top 3, policies that the Central Bank of Nigeria can come up with in a way that can directly impact, agriculture?
Number 1, agricultural implements has to become a service, which means that the government, the CBN, should look at the possibility of having such private sector participation, where the agricultural implements are provided to the private sector to distribute to the farmers. There shouldn't be money given to anybody. If we want John Deere tractors, let's have John Deere begin to assemble tractors in Nigeria to meet up the demand. Because what we are talking about is job creation. So every avenue for us to create more jobs for our people is very, very important. Number two, we should marry value addition at source, which still comes to processing plants. Some of the cars that we drive, a Hilux is almost about between 40 to 50 million naira. That can give you a processing plant for cassava, for a community. Check the amount of Hiluxes that are purchased every day for security and all that. If we use those funds to buy plants, to process at source, we will create the jobs, and the revolution will begin from the rural community. We'll begin to build rural urban communities. And we'll have a situation where the people need to go back to the rural communities. Right. Because that's where the jobs are going to come. And when the jobs come there, it comes with training. It comes with infrastructural revolution. If we are leaving the local communities out, and they are the ones that are powering, they are producing what we are consuming, whether it be farm produces or mineral resources or natural resources, if we leave them out, what we are going to do is that we are going to breed poverty the way we are breeding poverty from our rural communities, and it will swallow up the cities eventually.
Very well said. Ekeanyanwu Nnabue is agriculture expert. Thank you so much for your passion on these issues.